Two more episodes of Beyond the Gates are in the book, episodes 37 and 38. And they were kind of low-key episodes, honestly, but there was a few things that I really want to talk about that I find were necessary and kind of strengthen certain characters. I feel like there are some new viewers to soap operas that are starting to get a little antsy, starting to not like the slow pace of the show, because the show did start with a quicker pace than most soap operas, and then has now kind of definitely slowed down. And I kind of understand that because some of these stories need to pique more interest than they are. But I think that they successfully have started to do that with the whole Doug, Joey, Vanessa storyline these past two episodes. I think that was the strength of the past two episodes. First of all, seeing Doug at the hospital a lot actually doing his job definitely finally added to the character, because when the show first started, he was just a gambling addict and never actually at his job. But now getting to see him work at the hospital, I think did layer his character more. It's also given us more Shanice, which I will never complain about. But for the first time, I actually have something positive to say about Ashley as well, because I do feel like today's episode, Ashley kind of worked for the first time. And why did she work? Well, because she was a supporting character. She wasn't her love scenes with Derek weren't there front and center to be boring. She wasn't there with awkward interactions with Andre where there's no chemistry. No, she was just being a nurse and being the supporting character at the hospital with Doug. And it actually worked for once because she wasn't front and center being boring. In today's episode, we find out from Joey and Randy's scenes that Joey's big picture is to weasel his way into Vanessa's company, the realtor company. And so it could be like a money laundering place for him. So it seems as though he wants to continue to get Doug deeper in a hole with money to completely cause a rift between Doug and Vanessa. And then Joey gets to come in and be with Vanessa. Because we see with Vanessa scenes both yesterday and today. Well, yesterday she was concerned that Doug is never around, that they're not going on their dates. And Vanessa ironically thinks maybe Doug has found someone else because she sees that she's not getting what she wants from the marriage. Doug says he still is. It was unclear if Doug had an idea that Vanessa's always messing around, but I don't think that he did in yesterday's scenes. But there was some dialogue that made it seem like he might. Today, in the friend scenes with Nicole and Vanessa, Vanessa does come out to Nicole that she might be catching feelings for Joey. And Nicole, on one hand, doesn't understand how Vanessa could buy Joey's story about lying about his mother. And I agree with that. It was dumb of Vanessa to believe that. It was a very stupid story. Also, it adds an interesting layer to Nicole's character where she knows that her friend, her bestie Vanessa, is always kind of going behind Doug's back in their marriage, and she has little affairs, and Nicole seems to know this. So when the truth comes out about Ted, it will be interesting to see if Nicole just takes it on the chin like she does with her friend, or if she's actually a little more hypocritical with Ted stepping out on her marriage compared to her friend Vanessa always stepping out on hers. To end today's show, Doug ended up hurting his hand. He messed up in a surgery where the person died. The person was a high risk in surgery anyway because he had heart problems. But because of his hurt hand, he can't do surgeries for a while. And this was his idea lately, to throw himself into work so that he's not thinking about gambling. Although in today's episode, he was betting Ashley and Shanice that he could shoot a rolled up ball of trash into a trash can for a quarter, just really showing how the man loves to bet. And I know plenty of people that do have their gambling addictions that do love their bets. So I get it. I think it ended today with Joey walking in on Doug, who can no longer perform surgery, saying they got a problem. So I like the movement on this story these past two episodes. I think we are starting to get somewhere finally with this story. It was getting redundant. Still a little is, but they added layers to the characters of Doug and Vanessa. And Joey hopefully will someday be a bigger bad and do something pretty extreme in the story to really get the ball moving. That's what I'm hoping anyway. The other thing I liked from yesterday's episode was Tyrell. Still don't care about Martin and Smitty's problems trying to parent the kids. Like, I appreciate that we have an older gay couple on an American soap opera. Actually front and center for one, but actually just, showing that they have problems just like straight couples. That's great. Unfortunately, it's become redundant because Martin is such a aggravating character and Smitty is such a pushover that until Smitty stops letting Martin walk all over him, it's not going to be very interesting to me. Yesterday, Tyrell was upset about the bullying, upset that Martin went to the principal and just made his bullying worse, so he said. But then he met a girl, the girl whose boyfriend attacked him when the picture of his boxers were sent to her. I think her name was Jessica. And, I thought Tyrell and Jessica had the potential for chemistry. They have the potential for teen angst. Now, I don't completely trust that Jessica wasn't just playing Tyrell there to just further add to the bullying. That is a possibility because she was certainly gassing him up in that conversation. But whether that's the case or not, I still think it could add some good teen angst in a little teen love story. There's potential there. I saw some people online saying that the girl who played Jessica should have played Samantha because she's actually young. But no, if they're going to go forward with the Tyrell and Jessica pairing, then I think she was cast right because there is the potential for chemistry there. But it did make me more interesting in the teen scene finally that was getting old because the Samantha modeling storyline still getting old. But the Tyrell Jessica potential where Tyrell went home happy after their conversation, he no longer wants to move schools like Martin and Smitty had the idea of doing. So good thing there. Yesterday with Samantha's modeling, Kent and Chelsea think she's doing too much, and she probably is. But they do want her to model for a campaign for their purse line and all that. Today's episode had a lot of those kind of things that are reminding me of modern Young and the Restless, Josh Griffith's Young and the Restless, where people just change jobs and that's supposed to be riveting television, and it just isn't. Now Kat wants Chelsea to let Dani be involved in their business dealings. Chelsea doesn't want to work with her mother. That was the whole ordeal of getting out of modeling in the first place. It's kind of a merry-go-round with that storyline. It's similar to Bill and Naomi and their back and forth with the case against the sexual harassment case against Bill's law firm. It just doesn't interest me. Like Pamela going to Dani now that they want to start a modeling agency company together. It fits the characters, but are we going to get compelling enough storylines out of this? Or is it just like Josh Griffith's Young and the Restless where people just switch jobs and talk about their jobs? And that's supposed to be interesting, but it's not. That was kind of all in these two episodes. Anita's kind of finally getting a storyline. They've been putting it here and there where Anita likes to reminisce about the old days back when she was a singer in a girls group, and Naomi now seems to want to help Anita and throw this little party for them. One thing I like that the show does is they have a lot of parties, have a lot of gatherings. it's giving a Real Housewives franchise where they have a lot of gatherings, have a lot of parties, and that's usually where some drama goes down. The Real Housewives did a good job of grabbing a lot of the soap opera audience because back in the day, if there was a big event happening in a soap opera, some shit was going down. Um, I don't think every event needs some shit going down, but I do hope we start to see more shit going down at these big events. Of course, when Ted and Nicole's anniversary party comes around, that should be a big event where shit goes down. And that we're still like 2 weeks away from that, unfortunately. Hopefully next week's is a little more exciting than this week, but I'm okay with the pace for now still. We're hitting the 2 month mark of this show next week. There might be some preemptions the 2 weeks after that when the big anniversary party is supposed to be going down because of stupid soccer. So I hope that doesn't interfere with the pacing of the show and make it even worse than it can be lately, especially for newer fans. But as an old soap opera head, an old head of soap opera viewing, I am patient enough with the pace, but I still think May needs to be a good month because, you know, for me personally, the Eva, Leslie, Ted stuff intrigues me the most. And then I always love seeing Dani spirals and what shit Dani's going to get into. Now they have made the Joey, Vanessa, Doug stuff a little more intriguing. But outside of all of that, there's a lot left to be desired. Like, I was looking forward to Bill versus Naomi, but they put the kibosh on that. And the character of Bill's great anyway to me. I think he's a compelling character to watch, so I hope he gets more to do going forward. But the rest of the show, the modeling from Samantha, Martin and Smitty's redundant problems, Derek, Ashley, Andre, a lot of the other stories need to either end or just have a lot more juice added to them. And I'm hoping May Sweeps will do that.